This is all cacao plantation, huh? On the left side and right side. 8 acres.
Yeah, 8.5 acres.
8.5.
See, this is all planted.
So June is a harvesting season for cacao production. So I was lucky to come at that time. And I came there and I was really surprised at the beauty of this farm. There were hundreds of trees. It was like a forest full of just chocolate trees. And between those chocolate trees, there were trees of jackfruit, coconut, papaya, pumpkins, exotic fruits, custard apple, and it was just amazing how people were living there. Their family was living amidst this forest, amidst this beautiful farm, and all sustainably grown. The crops were grown using cow's dung. It was completely organic. The water was being circulated, recycled to water these farms. It was nice, and they had solar panels for the electricity. I was really, really impressed with this farm, and I was also told this was a 49-year-old farm, and luckily this was very well maintained. So unlike other chocolate farmers, Mr. and Mrs. Simpson decided they would not cut down their trees, and they continued to grow cacao. Earlier they were selling their cacao beans to Camco, a company which was buying chocolate from them. However, the farmers were not finding it very lucrative because they were selling them very cheap, but they still continued. Few years in the middle, they stopped selling to Camco, and they started just making chocolate for themselves.
Till 1975 to 1984, Cadbury's was buying the cocoa pods, wet beans. In 1984, they closed down the factory. We are near to 60 kilometers from our farm. From 1984 to 1986, no one company was there to buying the cocoa. So all the 98% people are cut down the trees and thrown out, except only 1% people. So nearly 60 square kilometers, we have only one farm here now left. So 1986, Camco Society, they started to buying the cocoa.
I took a tour of the acres of land, beautiful acres of land, and as you can see in the video, how many trees you can see, short trees. You know, those trees are really cut short because if the chocolate is sitting in a very tall tree, you can't really remove it from the tree. So there were short trees everywhere, and they were beautiful. The cocoa beans were green and red, ready to be harvested, ready to be plucked. So enjoyed visiting that farm. Now my first experience was on actually plucking the cacao seed myself, and I was so excited about it. So there was a short tree. I came in there and I was twisting the cacao as the farmer was telling me to do, and I was just so excited getting that in my hand. My first chocolate plucked.
Yeah.
The next day, one of the farmers who Mr. Simpson had been working with to manage, he took me around, and we saw lots of trees which were tall, and they had a team who was plucking out more cacao from the ripe cacao from the trees. They had this interesting stick they had made, and it was all made in house, you know. The stick was really long, and it had this iron sort of, rounded thing which would twist the cacao seed and then remove it, and the cacao would just fall down. It was very interesting. Nice. Earlier they were using bamboo for it, but then it would not stay for long. So they're using these rods, and it was very interesting to see this Oompa Loompa cute little guy going up there and removing all this cacao seeds from the trees.
So behind me, Martin is trying to get the cacao from the higher trees. Lots of cacao pods on the ground.
And they used to put all those cacao seeds in a big gunny bag, you know, And there's so much. I don't know how they carried, the tiny woman and the tiny Oompa Loompa, how they would carry in this big sacks of cacao beans was really fun to see. So what they would do next is they would take all those bags and then with this interesting stone knife, they would cut it open. I actually got an experience of that myself. One day the farmer said, let's try it, and he gave me this stone knife. And you'll see in the video how I tried to break open.
You need to do it a little. Those are good ones.
And I was so excited that I actually found a good cacao seed inside the one that I had chosen, the cacao bean. And so once they open up the cacao seeds, there are wet beans inside. And all those wet beans, hundreds of them, thousands of them are collected in a bucket. And once all of them are collected, then they're taken to another location where the process of fermentation starts. In this video, you're going to see how in these wooden casks, they have put all these seeds in, the wet seeds in, and they are now fermenting them. The process of fermentation is starting with that. And so without any oxygen, these seeds, they're covered, so there's no oxygen, and the fermentation process can start. So the yeast, bacteria all come together and they start that process. After that, next few days, it is with oxygen, the aerobic process starts. As you can see in the video, they will start the aerobic process where the beans now are shuffled again and again. They are taken from one cask and then put in another cask, and they are rotating them all the time, so there's more and more air coming in. And fruit flies come in to again process it even more. And this happens for 3 days, and the temperatures in the cask become really high. Then, to find out whether it's now done, they open up and to check whether the chocolate is starting to come together. And you can see it's dark brown in color when you open the seeds. It's very interesting. So once they start seeing more of that, they take out all those seeds which are now kind of dry and all the pulp is dissolved, and they put them out in the sun. As you can see in the video, they have played these blue mats and they're putting all those seeds there to dry in the hot sun. Soon after 2-3 days of drying, these are taken into another location where they are roasted, and so that all of the bacteria and all the other things sticking to it are just removed. And after that, they are grinded, and so the outer shell comes out. After grinding, they are put in another machine which is called a winnowing machine, where the shells just fly out and the nibs are just separated, and they come out on a separate plate. With this, we have the nibs, which is what a lot of chocolate companies take to produce their own chocolate. And for me, the cacao farmer would take the nibs and he would grind it in an Italy maker kind of machine, where the nibs are grinded for many number of days, and the chocolate liquor can be seen coming out a couple of days. And during this process, they add the jaggery, they add some flavors, whatever they like, and that's the chocolate I get. So when this chocolate comes to me in Gurgaon, where my workshop is, the fun begins.